Welcome to X Rated. This is Matt Fisher. That's and we used to date, but we don't anymore. Now we talk about movies. Woo! It's always a burden on me.
I'm glad we've established that the faster we do it, the better it is.
Just like our sex life.
Get in, get out.
More time for Deep Space Nine.
Mm-hmm. How's it going?
It's all right. How are you?
I'm pretty good. I noticed you've got some candles burning today. Some scented candles.
Yeah, well, seasonally, I love fall.
Mm-hmm.
But my place gets a little stuffy. You probably noticed we've been in here yammering on, and then, the CO2 we emit gets it kind of stuffy in here.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll leave the windows open a little bit during the day, and then I light the candles because it helps mask the smell of my own breath.
I see. What would you call this flavor candle?
It's called Starry Night or something.
Oh.
But I think it's supposed to be the smell of a bonfire or something.
Okay, yeah, I was thinking, Witch's Cauldron.
It's not a spectacular candle. I did see some of those stupid, hyper masculine candles that I've heard so much about.
Sheet metal.
Yeah.
It's funny how fragile, masculinity is.
Yeah, you can't just buy a candle.
I
don't like super fruity candles.
Mm-hmm.
I'm more of a, vanilla or cinnamon, maybe.
You're more of a spice man.
Yeah, if that helps. I just don't like, apricots and coriander or something.
Yeah. I'm not a big cloying smells fan. I like the musky sandalwood kind of stuff. Personally,
I kind of like my candles the way I like my tea.
Mm.
I can't do fruity teas anymore.
Not into passionberry blast off bliss.
The acai blueberry bonanza. No, I can't do those anymore.
Yankee Candle Company, if you're hiring for name makers, you know where to look.
So I was presented with a problem the other day, and I felt like you have a good observational history on this, so you might be a good person to go to.
Ooh, okay.
In your history, what is the makings of a good karaoke performance?
Oh. Well, as you know, I love karaoke. And have done it many years. And I have worked. I've been in the bar while karaoke is going on.
Right.
So I have some experience in this realm. For me, I really enjoy when someone's having fun.
Okay.
But not showing off. Because there's definitely people who are having fun screaming Bohemian Rhapsody at the top of their lungs. But
too long for karaoke.
Oh, you'd be surprised how many people do it. But they're the only ones having fun. You know what I mean? You don't need to be a good singer. You just need to be having fun. I really like when people pull weird songs out of nowhere.
Okay.
I've seen the Cranberries Zombie 100 times.
Oh, yeah. How many times have you seen a pair of girls doing Goodbye Earl?
Goodbye Earl? What's that?
Isn't that the Dixie Chicks?
Oh. I have heard some Dixie Chicks songs.
Okay.
But,
that's the one where they kill the abusive husband in the song?
Oh, man. Oh, my.
Have you not?
I mean...
God, every time I went to Crescent, I heard that for 2 years.
It's probable that's happened. I just don't know the song. I guess I know what I don't like about karaoke more than I like.
Oh, okay. I'm a firm believer that guys doing a female sung song is objectively awesomer than if they just do Creedence Clearwater or something.
Oh, I do lots of lady songs.
And it doesn't have to be one that is from a female perspective. It doesn't you don't have to go up and do Katy Perry's I Kissed a Girl or something. But if you go up and do No Doubt's Bathwater or something, or Spiderwebs, I feel like that's just as good.
Yeah.
And I feel like it's a lot of fun then.
Yeah. I mean, I do 2 songs, I guess, that have weak in the title. Because I do Belinda Carlisle's I Get Weak.
Okay.
And I do Weak by SWV. So, I'm not afraid to sing songs about saying that I'm weak.
And, my choice the other night, I didn't get called because the place was too packed, but I did Madonna's La Isle Bonita.
Oh, yeah, the Spanish lullaby.
That old Spanish lullaby. Yeah, because I was there with my cousin, and he wanted to do Livin' on a Prayer.
Okay, that's one. You need to know that song, and you need to be able to nail it, because the key change at the end is killer. It's too high. It gets so high.
I just told him that was too much into type. He had to think outside the box.
Yeah. That's another one. I don't mind if people do that song, but you got to be prepared for that key change. I don't think a lot of people are, and then once it hits, it's sad. The ones that like I'd like to scratch off the list forever is Bohemian Rhapsody is definitely one. Zombie, Cranberries, never need to hear that again. Don't even do American Pie by Don McLean. It's a 9-minute song, and you're just up there being selfish. It's annoying. And Don't Stop Believing. Let's just retire that song for a while.
Oh, God, I love this song. And I love it when amateurs sing the lyrics.
Also, the fucking Four Non Blondes
I was
song.
just going to say Four Non Blondes.
No more.
I was sitting here trying to think of the name of that song.
What's going on or whatever?
Yeah.
I don't need that anymore. I don't need that in my life. PSA for everybody. You don't. If you're thinking about doing that song, don't. You'll save a bartender's sanity. Is there anything interesting that you watched this week?
I watched the first Final Destination movie.
Oh, yeah.
I've never seen any of them.
Oh, okay.
So I was thinking of just working my way through that franchise next.
Mm-hmm.
A lot more scenes of people taking poos than you'd think. Like in the first 5 minutes, there's like a bathroom stall where like Devon Sawa and like whoever the other guy is are in an airport bathroom.
Right.
And it's like an overhead shot, and you're seeing both of them like taking shits.
Right. I vaguely remember that now.
And then like after they avoid like the plane explosion and like shit starts happening, like one of the survivors is like seen at home like taking a dump. I mean, the movie is so stupid that it's genuinely unpredictable.
Yeah.
So then it kind of circles back to being fun.
Yeah, I remember kind of liking the first one.
Yeah, like, I'm watching it, I'm like, I don't know what's going to happen.
It's hard to be scared by just death,
yeah,
quote unquote. Like, I don't know. Those movies, you kind of just have to enjoy the, like, Rube Goldberg genius of their deaths.
Yeah, I mean, yeah,
that's kind of the point of those movies.
And also, it dates back to before Hollywood's obsession with shaky cam.
Oh, yeah.
So everything's, like, really sort of clear-eyed, and, like, the stunt pieces are all sort of, like, big and brassy, and, like, they look actually pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I can see all the stunt work that's happening. I don't know. It's sort of nice.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'm not going to, like, go to bat and say that Final Destination is actually secretly a great movie, but I've definitely watched worse franchises.
Yeah.
What about you?
Well, I've been binge-watching the Netflix series, what's it called? Mindhunter. Damn it. I knew I was going to fuck that up. Anyway, I haven't slept much because I have been binging it. I'm running on about 3 or 4 hours of sleep right now. It is so good.
Premise me.
So it's basically, it follows these two FBI agents who are kind of the first profilers for serial murderers.
Oh, when does it take place?
70s.
Oh, okay.
Late 70s, I want to say, 77 or so. They're basically the first ones who started saying, let's interview these serial killers and start understanding why they do this behavior. It's just good. It's good Fincher goodness.
Getting in that meaty Zodiac territory.
Yeah, it's so good. And, it starts to make you question, like, what is your own psychology? Like, why do you behave the way you do? And
I've never once thought that.
That's very interesting. Why do you think that is?
I'm probably just tremendously hedonistic with no sense of being able to look back.
That's very interesting.
What other brain busters you got for me?
I don't know. I'm not a profiler. I as much as I've been watching this, I can't.
I was going to say,
manipulate
clearly you haven't
people.
watched enough.
Like, I'm just not a psychopath. I hate to disappoint anyone who is hoping I was.
Unlike me, who's watched The Mentalist all 7 seasons over the weekend, and I can tell just from your body language that you want to kill the person to your left. I wanted to take us out on a high note for our Schlocktoberfest. Like living on a prayer. I don't know if I hit that high note. But this week, we watched the alien sci-fi horror Extro. It's sort of like if E.T. were evil.
Sure.
Starts out, young boy playing fetch with his father. I don't know, it's with a stick.
Yeah, and they're not really throwing it horizontally. It seems more like a vertical toss.
Well, at least one of the tosses is like onto the roof of their house.
Go get it, girl!
So they just heave it skyward, and then suddenly there's an explosion.
What's happening?
I don't know.
It's close to that, the cut in 2001 when he launches the bone and then suddenly we're in outer space. It's very similar to that.
Sure. The idea is that once we're back to like the modern storyline, we learn that the father in this scenario, who's playing fetch with his son, has gone missing for 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
And the idea is that he ran away, or is a deadbeat dad.
No one believes the child that he disappeared in a flash of light.
Right, everyone thinks that this is like the child this is the story the kid is telling himself.
Right.
In order to cope with his father running away.
Mm-hmm. Before we get too far, I have to ask, did you enjoy watching this movie?
Yes and no.
Okay. I just want to know if we're on the same page or...
So this movie has a sort of strange combination of being like MST3K fodder in a lot of it.
Yeah.
And also being kind of genuinely scary. So when the alien lands,
Mm-hmm.
and there's that scene of like the couple driving through the woods,
Yeah.
and there's that jump scare of like the alien off to the side.
Yeah.
I fully knew that was coming, and I still kind of shook.
It is a creepy, really creepy moment because the person that's in the costume is doing like crab walk style.
Yeah.
But the face of the mask is on the back of their head. So so the back of the creature looks, which is the stomach of the actor, is all like bent in and looks really creepy and weird. I was really thrilled to see that because I used to spend, lots of time on the internet before there was, lots of quality programming to see that's streaming these days. I used to just spend time on corners of the internet looking at weird stuff. And one of the things I really like looking into is cryptozoology.
Okay.
Which is like, the study of weird animals like Bigfoot or Loch Ness Monster and junk like that. And there's this one called the skinwalker that people used to pass around for a while. And it's just a fucking picture of that.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they're like, check out this picture. It's the skinwalker, blah, blah. And they build this whole mythology around it. Huh. And I remember now that I've watched this movie, reading an article about how that photo is debunked because they're like, it's just from this movie. And being like, oh, I need to see this Xtro one day. And I completely forgot about it until I watched this scene again. I was like, oh, perfect. And yeah, that's a really creepy scene. Just like the way the creature moves, and there's like, the soundtrack is done by the director. I don't know if you noticed that, but
soundtrack is some serious cat on a Casio.
It's pretty oppressive.
It's no John Carpenter score. Let's just say that.
But they're listening in the car. They're listening to the soundtrack, which is some weird like baroque synth baroques. And then when that happens, there's a synth sting that's actually kind of creepy.
Yeah.
But yeah, that scare is good. I'll give you that.
I mean, even sort of the lead up to it when you see the alien like forming itself, I'm like, oh, that looks really creepy. Like, that is a creepy looking alien creature thing. And then, we get that jump scare, and it, I knew that it was coming. It's not even like the rhythm took me off. It was just the sight of it.
Yeah, and it's just the way it moves, too.
Yeah, real
unnatural looking.
Yeah.
It's creepy. But, yeah, I would argue that that's kind of the only scary thing. It kind of goes downhill from there in the scare department. Because it just moves so slow. Everybody's so deliberate in the way that they talk. And, move the plot along?
So this alien, it gets hit by the car. Mm-hmm. And the dude driving it, gets out to, because he thinks he, hit a deer or something. And the thing kills him. And then, like, the lady, is not allowed to drive, locks herself in the car, and that proves to be disastrous.
Yeah, she gets her foot stuck in the steering wheel somehow.
Yeah.
When the creature pulls her out. I thought that was a weird shot, but...
Either way, they both meet their end at the hands of... they never say the word Xtro in this movie.
Yeah, what is that referring to? Just like...
I'm not sure. I'll have to watch it with commentary.
Extraterrestrial.
Yeah, basically. And then, I'm not entirely sure how, but the creature makes its way to, like, this lone woman, like, living...
She's got a dog, Divine, the Jack Russell Terrier.
Divine, come back! What do you think you're doing? Divine, where are you? Come back! Divine, come on!
But yeah, she's just like a woman like living in a cottage in the woods alone, or with her dog.
Washing her hair.
Yeah. And the creature like makes its way in there.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember like it being a little creepy, her like walking around like noticing that like something's up.
Mm-hmm.
And then she gets like attacked by the thing.
Right. He sort of face hugs her, but also just like
it's
just
like
her
he's
mouth.
got like a arm thing that like covers her mouth, but he impregnates her.
Yeah,
something. The movie's light on details.
Yeah, I'm not going to give it shit for that because there's just too many that we're going to miss there. But yeah, so she becomes kind of super pregnant and super fast.
She goes from like looking like a little bit like she's got a pot belly to like all at once being like 14 months pregnant. And she starts giving birth, and the birthing scene is clearly just like a hefty bag that's been plastered up to look like a birthing canal.
Yeah.
As they push a human person through it. Like, the way that it stretches and tears, I'm like, oh, that's a glad bag.
Yeah, that's not skin. Yeah, and he moves so slowly out. Like, it's the slowest birth ever. And I feel like that's kind of been the...
I want to know what births you've seen. I would say that this is one of the fastest births ever. Having seen a similar shot in the Takashi Miike film Gozu, this one was brisk and healthy.
Okay. She went to her Lamaze classes.
So he crawls out, and the person crawling out is the father that went missing from the opening scene.
The aforementioned stick launcher.
Yes, the deadbeat dad.
Sure.
So a lot of horror movies, when you have the dynamic of like single parent and child, Babadook had it,
Right.
E.T. had it,
Right.
and yeah, a lot of these horror movies deal with sort of broken home anxieties, and this is sort of playing on that.
Sure.
Like, here is the alien in the form of a deadbeat dad who came back home.
Right.
And, I mean, that's the goal, I'm assuming, of the filmmakers here. Is that it's supposed to be sort of taking a science fiction concept and applying it to domestic strife.
Sure. I don't think it succeeds. I was on board. I was on board with the idea of their family missing the dad, and that's like the drama of it.
Yeah.
But you didn't get any more than that with these characters. Like, there's no effort to make Tony a lovable little scamp. The mom isn't any more interesting than, like, I'm mom. I mean, I guess she gets torn between Joe and Sam when he returns, but even then she's not really, like, conflicted. She seems like, oh, bye, Joe. You know?
Well, because Joe is having the affair with the au pair.
I thought that was a different guy.
Oh, I thought that was Joe.
No, I think that's a different guy. Just some random dude.
Oh, they looked identical.
Yeah, they looked pretty similar.
Oh, okay. But I gotta say, that au pair had quite the au pair on her, if you know what I mean. The only boobies that we get in this movie are her when she's having sex, and
Zing.
she was definitely hired not because of her acting talents.
She's sort of... They have a sex scene pretty early on that's very bizarre. He's, like, going down on her, and then she just sort of stops him, gets up, and looks out the window. And then, like, he pulls her back onto him, and she just sort of, like, wrestles his hands a little bit. I don't know. I don't want to judge people's, how they do it, whatever. I don't want to... It just was strange to watch for me as an outsider viewing it.
The au pair gave me a definite Julie Delphi vibe.
Oh yeah, she's a Dabo, so she's.
What was that, Charles?
Marianne Dabo. She's the first cousin of Olivia Dabo, who you may remember as the older sister on The Wonder Years. She was also in an episode of Star Trek: The Next Generation where she gains Q powers and becomes part of the Continuum. She's also the love interest in Kicking and Screaming, the Noah Baumbach film.
Wow.
Yeah. So this is her first cousin, once removed, starring in Extro as the French au pair.
Yeah.
I actually did a little research.
Well, when you're only getting 3 hours of sleep, you got to be doing something with your time. Continuity error in the movie. So once Sam, the deadbeat dad who comes back, or an alien in the form of the deadbeat dad comes back, they're playing Connect 4. Yeah.
I have the same note!
Tony, the child, is red, and the dad, Sam, is yellow. And Tony puts in a red tile and gets 4, and he's like, I win!
Yeah.
There were 2 yellow rows of 4 already.
I saw that too. I was like, that game ended a long time. The bottom row had 4.
And I was just thinking, come on, prop people, you can't a little foresight here. I do want to give a little bit of a weird shout out to the set direction of that apartment. There's minimal design, and then there's nothing on the walls design. They didn't have a picture anywhere. There was no mirrors. It looked like a badly furnished soundstage. It was bad. Contrast to the woman who lives below them, who has every antique that's ever been on the German woman.
Yeah,
one who gets her snake in the salad.
Yeah,
and she just takes a meat hammer to it immediately.
Yeah,
and then gives it back to him in a bag. That looks like just a bag of blood.
Yeah, what the fuck?
I think this belongs to your son. Oh, God. Harry!
It's no, you say, I had to kill it because it was in my food, and that's just the end of it.
Yeah, you don't need to give it back. They're not going to have a funeral for it. But her place was furnished really well, that's my point. So
I don't know about you, but I definitely was sort of thrown from time to time at the Britishness of this. Because, the steering wheel's on the other side of cars.
Yeah, that was throwing me off.
So there was one scene where it was someone opens a car door and there's a dead girl on the passenger side.
Yeah.
But right before that, though, it's it shows the dude driving and the dead girl's just leaning there. And I was I saw that, I was she's not keeping her eyes on the road. And then there's a scene where Sam and Tony are getting in the car and Tony gets in America. What would be the driver's side? And I'm they're letting the kid drive? Seems wrong.
I wouldn't put it past this movie.
Yeah, maybe that was it. Maybe just the tone of the movie was throwing me off where, that somehow seemed believable.
We haven't talked too much about the, weird, connection that Tony has with his father. But, there's a scene early on when the mom comes in to comfort him because he has all these dreams. And he's just covered in blood.
Yeah.
She's holy shit, call a doctor.
They
clean up the mess. A doctor comes over and he's where'd the blood come from? He's
dunno, just felt something sticky.
It's called puberty, son. But then later, they can't figure it out the next morning.
What did Tony say about last night?
I didn't ask him. I'm not going to push it.
You're not going to push him on the blood that just, came out of nowhere?
It wasn't he had, a little mark of blood on his pajamas. He was soaked.
Yeah, and it just
Like from toe to sternum.
happened out of nowhere.
Yeah, like she was tucking him in and he didn't even bring up the blood.
Yeah, and then
She was tucking him in and noticed that her hand was covered.
and then pulls the sheet back, and it's just like head to toe.
And he's like, oh, look at that.
Yeah,
Where'd that come from?
I would be grilling him. I'd be like, Tony, I'm not mad. I just need to understand.
Well, this is why you'd make a terrible parent. Yes. I know you want to go all mind hunters on these people, but, you can't do that with kids.
I want to know where that blood came from. I want to know why you're doing it, Tony. We're not leaving this room until you tell me. I want a pizza.
No. And that's just going to make him dig his heels in even more.
Well, I'm not going to give him what he wants until I get what I want.
You got to eat that pizza in front of him.
Yeah.
You want some of this pizza, Tony?
I'll
Tell me where that blood came from.
I'll give you a cigarette if you tell me where that blood came from. Tell me where you got the money for the blood. Anyway. He catches them having sex, too, which is... I just wish...
And they didn't stop right away, I feel. Like, he walks in, and it gets pretty bright in there before they notice what's happening. Now, I mean, I don't know about you, but, like, when my Venetian blinds, like, catch some moonlight, I'm like, let's stop! Hold on! And they, like, let, like, the full, like, hall light come in, and then they, like, peer out from under their sheets, and they're like, huh? What? Tony? Hold on!
I just wish one of them had been like, Mommy and Joe are just wrestling. There's no explanation for it. They're just like, yeah, we're fucking. He's caught us again.
It's Mommy Joey sheet monster time.
Yeah. Also, God, if you played a drinking game to every time they said Tony in this, you'd be wasted in the first half an hour.
Tony! Tony? Tony! 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 Tony!
I just feel like every sentence the mom has
Tony.
Tony in it. Tony.
Tony, where'd you get this blood?
Even when he's not on screen and they're talking, like she's talking to Joe, he's like, what are you doing today? She's like, well, I've got to pick up Tony from school.
Tony, put your snake away.
You know how I'm Tony's mother and all.
Do you think the snake eggs were somehow symbolic of the mother-child relationship? And how alien Sam comes and eats the eggs and gets like all the egg juice over his chin?
Absolutely.
So there's some pretty creepy father-son activities that happen.
Yeah, not just Connect 4. They're connecting in other ways.
Yeah, there's a pretty gross hickey scene in this movie where, like, Sam takes Tony down an alleyway and, like, bite kisses him on the neck, and it, like, protrudes into some sort of neck pyramid.
It's like when, you take ice cream and you, like, have it on the spoon and kind of form it as you're pulling the spoon out of your mouth. It's like he took a bunch of ice cream and is just kind of spitting it out into a form on Tony's shoulder.
Yeah, was it his shoulder? I thought it was, like, full, like, hickey area, like, on the neck.
It's kind of that zone. And that whole zone, if you're an adult, don't put your lips on a child in that area. While Tony's running away, his shirt's unbuttoned, too. It was odd.
Yeah.
It was really odd.
But this is somehow imbuing Tony with some powers.
Yeah.
Some psychic powers. I mean, he can't, move objects with his mind or anything like that, but sort of like whatever he wills to become alive comes alive.
Yeah.
So, like
So he's really... We should just mention at this point that Tony's really into circus stuff.
And his legally safe G.I. Joe knockoff.
Yeah. G.I. Jorb.
G.I. Jose.
Yeah.
The non-union Mexican equivalent.
Ay caramba.
Old Lady Goebbels down below them who kills his snake when it, like, gets out of the cage.
By the way, I love the mom's line after that. She's like,
She's just a stupid woman.
Do you think the actress improv that line, or that was on the page? Tony, don't be upset. She's just a stupid woman.
No, this is like an Aaron Sorkin script. Like, you don't go, you don't add, you don't delete. So after Old Lady Mengele kills Tony's snake, he sort of wills his G.I. Joe to come alive. And I actually kind of like this scene for a moment because someone knocks on the door and she has the chain lock.
Right.
And so she opens it a little bit, but the chain pulls. And she's like, who is it? And then bolt cutters come out and cut the chain. And for whatever reason, I think because I'd forgotten this, like, the storyline of, like, the kid getting psychic powers.
Yeah.
I was like, what the fuck is that? I was like, if that happened to me, like, I'd be shitting myself right now.
Yeah.
So she closes the door and locks it, but who's ever on the other end has some sort of, like, magical device to unlock locks.
It's like a bomb. It, like, blows up.
Yeah.
It blows up the lock.
But it doesn't, like, blow the door down. It just, like...
diffuses the lock.
Yeah.
Somehow. Yeah.
And so the door opens, and it's a life-size G.I. Joe.
Right. Which turns out that it was an Almodovar's gazpacho, that doll. Because earlier, he pointed at her and goes, so, don't introduce a toy soldier shooting at somebody in the first act if it's not going to go off later.
In the second act. Which
Ish.
isn't quite how Almodovar used his gazpacho.
That's true. Also, that scene is really great at the end when she finally does get stabbed because she's hiding under the couch.
Yeah.
And it looks like she gets found out because she's reaching for a candy.
Yeah. Yeah. Like a bunch of chocolates spill on the ground, and it looks like she reaches for one. Because she gets stabbed, and then the blood splatters all over the chocolates on the ground.
And the hand reaching for the chocolate. Like, I just picture her, like, hiding into the couch,
fearing for her life,
and then being like, "Ooh, a Reese's."
I really actually kind of like the way that the life-size G.I. Joe moves.
Mm.
It has this like sort of believable animatronic movement to it that it seems like it's a life-size marionette or almost.
Yeah, the physical acting of that person is pretty good.
Yeah,
I agree with that.
I mean, I kind of like the whole scene, except that the old woman seems to reveal herself because she's got to have a toffee.
He also, like, wills to life this strange little person.
In a scene that makes no
clown.
sense on the page or on the screen. He's looking at, like, this little... I don't know. He has a toy that's like a clown on, like, a high bar.
Flipping around, yeah.
But, yeah, and I've, like, seen these toys before. Like, you press a button and they flip around.
Yeah.
And he, like, looks at it real hard. And then
the lead up to it, though, is really weird because it's just like this slow camera pan and him making weird grunting noises for a long period of time. It felt like forever. Anyway, then yes.
maybe it is a puberty story. You don't know.
Yeah. Oh. Anyway, he stares very hard at this trapeze artist toy, and it
comes to life in the form of like a real life little person who doesn't. He does some tricks, like he kind of juggles.
He's got a yo-yo with blades on it.
Yeah.
And a rubber hammer that's wobbly.
Yeah.
Big shoes. That's about it.
Yeah, and he kind of dances around in Tony's room for a little while.
It's a real bizarre intro to this section of Tony having powers.
Yeah.
I felt. Because he just sort of becomes Tony's minion at this point, too.
Yeah, because who was it? I don't have in my notes, but like they knock someone... Is it the au pair?
They do capture the au pair because the mom suddenly just decides to like go back to the cottage with Sam, her husband, and leave Tony with the au pair.
Yeah.
Out of nowhere, and she's just like, "Bye, we're going to the countryside." Like,
I stopped caring about the blood.
yeah, like Joe, you know, you're not in the picture anymore. Kind of. I don't know. It was bizarre, but then. Yeah, so he and the little gnome guy capture the babysitter.
Yeah.
And wrap her up in some spider webs above the tub.
Yeah.
That makes her, like, poop out eggs. Basically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they put it in some sort of, I don't know, kind of looks like coleslaw gelatin.
Was the fridge that they turned over sideways.
Yeah.
God, if you haven't seen this movie, this probably doesn't sound like we're even... You have no idea what we're talking about. This might be a hard one for people if you haven't seen this movie.
So Joe, who I guess is a fashion photographer.
Joe sucks, by the way. He's like such a killjoy the whole movie.
So there's a scene of him at a photo shoot, and I think you might hear this before you see it, but this woman comes up to him like,
Joe, is this okay?
and like they turn and it's like a woman with the biggest hair you've ever seen wearing tinfoil. And my
low-cut tinfoil.
And my immediate reaction is, no, go change and do something with your hair. And he's like, oh yeah, that looks good. I'm like, in what world is this a good look?
I don't know. The moms seem to be involved in the fashion world too in some way, but...
You couldn't tell from their home decor.
No, and you couldn't tell by the strange color-blocked smock turtleneck thing she was wearing. It was bizarre. I guess Joe eventually figures out that Sam, the dad, may have murdered this woman that was in the car in our first scare. We should also mention that the au pair, Annalise's boyfriend, dies via puma. And my note for that was just like, they were fucking able to afford a panther, puma, whatever, for this movie? I don't know. It just doesn't.
Do you think pumas are expensive?
I don't know, but
I feel like you can get one on the cheap.
You know, Craigslist that shit.
I can't imagine the demand outweighs supply for puma shots.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like there's a good equilibrium there. You can get one on a budget.
Okay.
If you're in the film industry.
I see. Maybe that's just like an insider thing that I'm blind to. It was shocking to me to see it.
I don't know. I just feel like if they were too expensive, you'd never see a puma in a movie. And, you know, if they were cheap, movies would just star pumas.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you're just fresh off watching 101 Pumas. So.
But yeah, the budget on that movie was outrageous.
Oh.
We do possibly get a peen shot in this movie, though.
No, I saw a butt shot.
Yeah, and it's in that same scene, and I think he was actually naked, but like the camera just never quite angled itself right. Got close though, like it definitely. I could see some stem. I feel
none of the men in this movie were very attractive, though.
No, no.
I've got to say.
I mean, I didn't like stop and pause any of this stuff. You know,
this is not a hot uncle situation.
Yeah, I was like, is that peen? I can't tell. Oh well, I don't care.
But better to just get through this. We've got Tony and Imp making
Mischief.
Making mischief in the fridge with water balloons. And then Mom and Sam having sex in the cottage, rekindling their romance, Gerald game style. And while they're having sex, she realizes that, oh god, your skin's coming off.
You've hurt yourself. Your face. No!
And usually, I've been, sort of...
You've uttered those lines before.
Yes, but after I come. Yeah.
And your skin has never fallen off once on me. I just want the record to show.
It just was gross.
Yeah.
It was gross.
Yes. Sex is gross between a man and a woman. I agree.
So they get out to the country. Joe figures out the situation and then takes Tony out there with him. And that's where our big, I guess, showdown happens.
I don't know if showdown is the right term.
Sam and Tony end up like getting back in the spaceship and flying away.
You get to see the full alien stuff.
This is an upright alien, as before that there was the quadruped alien.
Think of the last scene in E.T., except Elliot gets on the spaceship.
Right.
And he's the alien.
Right. So was the whole point of the return of Sam to take Tony back?
Yeah, I suppose. You know how at the beginning of this movie I was like, oh, the alien is supposed to be like the alien figure in your home?
Right.
That doesn't pan out start to finish. The movie doesn't adhere to this philosophy by the time it wraps up.
I guess that is kind of horrific if, like, somebody comes and then takes your son away because you're the favored one because you've been missing and then therefore romanticized. And so, like, the kid's obviously going to like that one more, maybe, than the one who's actually raised them. So maybe that speaks to the horror of the mom in that moment.
Sure.
Although that does not get addressed in the coda, where she goes home and gets attacked by one of the water balloon eggs that was in the fridge.
Yeah. Also,
their kitchen is now inexplicably painted white. Bright white. And, yeah, she dies in black. That's real quick. Although, maybe that's a statement on how, like, your children can inflict more harm on you than any lover ever could.
I like how you're digging deep.
It wasn't Sam's leaving that killed her. It was Tony's.
Yeah.
Tony.
Well, I know when, during my last breakup, like, I could deal with that, but, like, if I lost custody of my little dog, I'd have to go to therapy.
Too much, yeah.
So,
this movie runs deep. I can't even pretend to say that.
So I chose Extro because it is sort of a cult classic. Like, there is a circle of people who unironically love this movie.
What aspects of it do you think that they love?
Well, there is sort of really interesting sci-fi elements to this. When you're talking about, like, low-budget horror movies, if you just look at it in terms of, like, oh, this had no money, and what did it do with it, it's sort of impressive.
I will say some of the visual effects are pretty good. Yeah.
But I also have to say, making sense is free. So you don't have to have a budget in order to make sense.
Yeah.
And in that regard, this movie is a failure.
It really feels like we've got the first draft of the script that they just went with.
But part of me still feels that there are these, like, little nuggets of, like, truly, like, good movie making in there. Jump scares near the beginning. And just some of, like, the alien set stuff. The way that it looked at the end, or the way that it was coming together at the beginning. All that stuff I thought was solid. But, yeah, it was not without problems.
I guess my main issue was, the dialogue was just abominable. It was too bad. And also the pacing really drove me nuts because it was like too slow to be scary. Oh, it was a long hour 23 for me. I wish there would have been more of those themes of, like, why is this horrific? We don't get any of that. It's just sort of like presented that here's an alien, it's scary. They weren't even one-dimensional characters. I felt like we were getting, like, zero-dimensional.
Well, that's why we're going to have to watch the sequels.
Which I'm so curious about, honestly, because, like, what is the second one? Is that what takes place on the home planet of Xtro?
I haven't seen the sequels, so...
I can't imagine what they would be.
I can definitely see myself seeing the sequels, though, shortly.
I would love it if it was just, like, the dad in alien form taking care of Tony in alien form, but it's just like, eat your SpaghettiOs. You can't tell me what to do!
It's just a Mike Leigh film, but, like, in space.
With aliens. I never should have gone back to Earth to pick you up. I miss Joe!
Well, this takes us to the end of Hex Rated BOO these.
It's been fun.
It has been fun.
It's been a journey.
It's been something. I know I'll never be the same. But you're going to be the one to cleanse our palate.
Yeah, and I've decided to go full-on life-affirming and real. So I'm doing a documentary.
Oh, okay.
Marwin Call, which I don't think you've seen.
I don't even think I've heard of it.
It's really good. It just follows around this guy who gets amnesia from a horrible beating and then rebuilds his memories with dolls and takes photos, really stunning photographs of them.
Oh.
And then it gets twistier from there. It's a really odd story, but it's very life-affirming, and I think you're going to like it. Let's plug our junk.
Like, review, rate, subscribe on iTunes. It's the best way to get the word out there for the podcast.
Yeah, you could give us 5 stars or 4 stars.
Those are the only two options that iTunes offers, fun fact.
And yeah, unfortunately.
True story.
So, yeah. You can also reach out to us on Twitter. We have a handle there, which is at X Rated Movies.
To find out the most current news on what we're doing or what we'll be reviewing, follow us on Facebook at Rated X Movies.
You can get an update as to what's coming up on Fridays and then what is out on Mondays.
And you can always email us if you want to contact us directly and perfectly at x.rated.movies@gmail.com.
Send nudes. Anyway, thank you for listening, and I hope you enjoyed Schlocktoberfest as much as we enjoyed making it. Now we're back to regular movies next week with Marwin Call. See you then.
Yeah.
And until then,
watch the skis.